Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. It's our evening Shabbat class, closing out the Shabbat for the 23rd of December, 2023. I'll be reading out of Jubilees, chapter 1, in accordance with what's in Enoch, the book of Enoch that we read this morning. Get another perspective. You can go to our YouTube channel, The Prophets of Awakening. We have like over 700 videos with a lot of all kind of information in. If you want to venture over to Prophets of Awakening, check out those videos. It's a lot of information given, and they connect a lot of dots for you and bring you to the truth. If you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And those who want to support the channel, you can check out our Cash App on the bottom of the screen. Okay. So with that being said, I'm gonna give y'all hours of operation in case you want to come in on live broadcast on Tuesday nights from 8 to 10 Central. We got our advanced Bible study for everybody, males and females. Wednesday night we have we reading out of the Tanakh, reading through the Tanakh. It's 8 to 10 Central Time. Then Thursday night we have women's advanced Bible study. That's 8 to 10 Central Time. And Friday nights we on Clubhouse for our men's advanced Bible study. And the room is called a Non-Masonic Conversation. Then we come on Saturday for the Shabbat, and we have two Sabbath classes, one in the morning, 10 to 12 a.m. Then we come back to close the Shabbat out from 6 to 7 in the evening. Okay. So with that being said, this is a non-Masonic channel. For those that don't know, we deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses by the Lord of Hosts. We do not subscribe to the New Testament or the God in the New Testament, okay, or the idol. Shalom and welcome to this channel, and welcome to our evening Sabbath class. We're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence, evening Shabbat prayer. We're going to read the Psalms. We got some current events. We'll deal with a little need to know information. Open it up for some Q&A, and then we're going to the topic, which is reading out of the book of Jubilees, preferably chapter 1. We may go into chapter 2. Okay? So this moment of silence is for the Lord of Hosts, and all that he's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Okay? O Lord, righteousness and uprightness belongeth unto thee. Therefore we come before thee at this hour, seeking thy face and looking for righteousness and uprightness, that we may walk before thee as thy servants David, Solomon, Samuel, Hezekiah, and Jeremiah did, that we may walk before thee in truth and righteousness and in rightness of heart. Give unto us, O Lord, an understanding heart, that we may discern between good and bad. For we desire to walk after thee, O Lord, and to keep your commandments, the testimony, the statutes with all our heart and soul, to perform the words of the covenant that was written down by your prophets. O Lord, allow your face to shine upon thy people. Hear our plea, hear and do, O Lord, and hide not thy face from us any longer, for we need you so very much at this hour. Peace be unto you. Okay. I'll read the Psalms. Okay. Okay, I'll read Psalm 44. Okay, it says, the former deliverances and present troubles. We have heard with our ears, O God, our fathers have told us what works thou didst in their days, in the times of old, how thou didst drive out the heathen with thy hand and planted them, how thou didst afflict the people and cast them out. For they got not the land in possession by their own sword, neither did their own arm save them, but thy right hand, thy arm, and the light of thy countenance because thou has a favor unto them. Thou art my king, O God, command deliverance for Jacob. Through thee will we push down our enemies, and through thy name will we tread them under that rise up against us. For I will not trust in my bow, neither shall my sword save me. But thou hast saved us from our enemies, and hast put them to shame that hated us. In God we boast all the day long, and praise thy name forever. Selah. But thou hast cast off and put us to shame, and goeth not forth with our armies. Thou makest us to turn back from the enemy, and they which hate us spoil for themselves. Thou hast given us like sheep appointed for meat, and hast scattered us among the heathen. Thou sellest thy people for naught, and thou doest not increase thy wealth by their price. Thou makest us a reproach to our neighbors, a scorn and derision to them that are round about us. Thou makest us a byword among the heathen, a shaking of the head among the people. My confusion is continuously before me, and the shame of my face have covered me. For the voice of him that reproacheth and blasphemes by reason of the enemy and avenger. All this has come upon us, yet have we not forgotten thee, neither have we dealt falsely in thy covenant. Our heart is not turned back, neither have our steps declined from thy way. Though thou hast sore broken us in the place of dragons, and covered us with the shadow of death, if we have forgotten the name of our God, or stretched out our hands to a strange God, shall not God search this out, for he knows the secrets of the heart? Yea, for thy sake are we killed all the day long. We are counted as sheep for the slaughter. Awake, why sleepest thou, O Lord? Arise, cast us not off forever. Wherefore hidest thou thy face, and forgettest our affliction and our oppression? For our soul is bowed down to the dust, our belly cleaveth unto the earth. Arise for our help, and redeem us for thy mercy's sake. Okay? Any comments on that? Anybody got any comment over Psalms 44? Let's going to deal with this verse I read in the beginning. It says, verse 1, we have heard with our ears, O God, our fathers have told us what works thou didst in their days, in times of old. Okay? It says, through thee, verse 5, through thee will we push down our enemies, and through thy name will we tread them under that rise up against us. So like I was saying this morning, this Israeli wanted to say that name don't mean nothing. But he says right here, through the Creator, through the Lord of Host's name, we overcame our enemies. As long as we respected him, respected his name, kept his commandments, we treaded down our enemies. No sooner than we turned our back, it didn't work. Okay? So, with that being said, these are current events. Nobody have no comments. Cool.
So we have some more potentially troubling news here in the United States, because now what we are hearing is that some experts are calling this a scary illness. However, what we are also hearing is that the CDC and the World Health Organization are split between calling this a variant of interest or not. So I'm going to address what's going on in just a moment, but look at this. The flu and COVID infections are rising and could get worse over the holidays, according to the CDC. Now that's troubling, and we'll get to more on that in just a moment. All I ask is one thing, takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now, let's begin. So now that we are seeing flu and COVID infections rising, this has the CDC and the World Health Organization concerned. However, they are not entirely certain as to how concerned they should be. Now, I want to show you this chart. Look at this right here. So this shows, and you can see in all the green states over here, this is minimal activity level as far as the infections. Okay. Now, this is the respiratory illnesses as well. All right. You can see down here in the red, these are the high and very high risk. Okay. But if we pull this over here, this is from the week ending November 18th, so over a month ago. We start to pull this little slider. Look how the colors start to change. This is now the week ending December 16th, which was last week, which was 7 days ago. Okay? See how it's turning a lot more red? Yeah, that's concerning. This is one of the reasons why the CDC and the World Health Organization are trying to determine whether or not this is a variant of interest. Because, according to reports, the World Health Organization has listed the JN.1 variant as a variant of interest. That is by the World Health Organization. However, I want to read you this right here. It says, in a split with the World Health Organization, a CDC spokesperson confirmed Friday afternoon that the Biden administration has so far decided against elevating JN.1 to being a standalone variant of interest. Instead, the strain remains grouped with its BA.2.86 parent as a variant being monitored. That is where they're different. The World Health Organization and the CDC do not agree as to the severity of this variant. Here's the reason why this is somewhat a problem. Right now, we are seeing illnesses increase. It's shocking, okay? Just look at this. It says new COVID variant JN.1 surges to 44% of cases, according to CDC estimates. 44% of cases. Keep in mind, this is from this morning. The expectation is it is going to get worse. I want to read you a little bit from this article. It says JN.1's continued growth suggests that the variant is either more transmissible or better at evading our immune systems than other circulating variants. It is too early to know whether or to what extent it will cause an increase in infections or hospitalizations. That was according to the CDC on Friday. Now I want to read you this, because this is what everyone's going to want to know. What is the effectiveness of the shot against JN.1? Well, here's what we know. Data from early studies of the strain cited by the World Health Organization in a risk evaluation this week also pointed to research suggesting JN.1 displays a higher immune evasion compared to its BA.2.86 parent, though not enough to prevent this season's vaccine from being effective. Says this year's updated shots were targeted at the XBB.1.5 strains, which drove a wave of infections earlier this year. So the updated shot were targeting the infections of the certain strain earlier this year, not the one that we are currently experiencing. But if you see the signs at your Walgreens or your clinics and your hospitals, and you see the different things on TV and news stations, they're all saying, go get the shot. But now we're not sure how effective it is. It's concerning. But yet, again, some are calling this a scary illness because we do not have guidance. We do not have any guidance. And the CDC and World Health Organization don't agree as to whether or not this is a variant of interest. It says a World Health Organization panel earlier this month declined to call for an update to the shot's recipe after mulling early data so far measuring the threat posed by JN.1. The concern right now amongst many is that the shot is going to have very little effect, or the JN.1 variant is going to evade the shot. And so you are still going to get sick. Now,
Okay.
one of those.
Anybody got comments on that?
No, sir. Well, yes. Why are they really doing it on the news today?
My time in the military and my
Well, they trying to keep it under wraps. That's what he was saying. They don't want to come out unless they know for sure. But he said it's already at 44%. I mean, what do you need? So they're just trying to keep it from getting to where we was at before in 2020. But it looked like it's heading that way, so we'll see.
Okay.
Okay.
Or they don't want to panic, people panicking again.
That's what they don't want.
Right. And as they're mentioning this more, they're not mentioning any of the food shortage that's going to start happening.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, as far as China is concerned, I've been doing a little research on the food shortage and things because I was thinking about that. And oh, if it's okay for me to say it, because I know you have something you was going to do.
Now go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So China has been buying up a lot of farmland here in the United States, and all they needed was 6% of the land, and they can control the food shortage. And they also, when they were doing all those ports, buying up the ports and everything out there off the coast of Africa, and teaming up with a lot of other um, countries,
Right.
they're really aiming with the food. So as we now here in America, they have over $1.8 billion of um, profit coming through just here in the United States. And they're still trying to buy more land. And Bill Gates is buying land too.
Right.
But he also is in with China. He does have some investments with them. So if there comes to a point, and it's my observation, of some kind of shutdown, that they will be, they're able to do it because of who owns those farming lands, and how Bill Gates is owning farming land. But that's just something it caught my eye earlier today when I was um, thinking about you know, how things are moving with the service. And my son works on base, and they have to ship a lot of those trucks and tankers over. And I'm like, okay, something's really going to happen. But he's not telling me anything, but yeah. So I'm not sure. And our prices are going back up on our gas and on the food as well. That was just something I was looking at as
Okay.
far as China is concerned, because we mentioned earlier how China is teaming up with different various um, presidents or countries, backing them on things, putting their spoon in everybody's pot, I'll say.
Right. Right. That's what this next video is about. Right here.
Of international geopolitics, few conflicts have captured the world's attention quite like the ongoing Israel-Palestine conflict. This long-standing and deeply rooted conflict has witnessed its fair share of international involvement, but a recent development has sent shockwaves throughout the global community. China has dispatched warships to Israel in a striking show of support for Gaza-Palestine. The arrival of Chinese warships in the region has not only raised eyebrows, but also added a new layer of complexity to an already intricate situation. In this article, we delve into the details of China's move, the motivations behind it, and the potential implications for the region and the world. Before we dissect China's decision to send warships to Israel, it is crucial to understand the historical context of their relationship. China and Israel maintain diplomatic ties, despite having different geopolitical interests and alliances. Their cooperation mainly revolves around economic matters, including trade and technology exchange. China has also shown an interest in Israel's technological advancements, particularly in areas like cybersecurity, agriculture, and renewable energy. Additionally, China has sought to strengthen its presence in the Middle East as part of its Belt and Road Initiative. This ambitious infrastructure and economic development project aims to connect China with Europe, the Middle East, and Africa through a network of roads, railways, ports, and pipelines. Israel's strategic location at the crossroads of Europe, Asia, and Africa has made it an attractive partner for China's BRI, as it can serve as a key transit point. China's stance on the Israel-Palestine conflict has traditionally been one of cautious neutrality. Beijing has supported a two-state solution, emphasizing the need for negotiations between Israel and Palestine to reach a peaceful resolution. While China has been critical of Israel's policies towards the Palestinians, it has also maintained diplomatic relations with Israel and continued its economic engagement. The decision to send warships to Israel in support of Gaza-Palestine is a significant departure from China's previous stance of non-interference. It came as a surprise to many observers, as China has generally avoided military involvement in foreign conflicts. So what prompted this unexpected move? China has cited humanitarian concerns as the primary reason for its decision to send warships. The recent escalation of violence in Gaza has resulted in a high number of civilian casualties, drawing international condemnation and calls for a ceasefire. China's move can be seen as a symbolic gesture to show its support for the Palestinian people and its commitment to safeguarding human rights. China's decision also carries strategic implications in the broader context of its interests in the Middle East. By demonstrating its willingness to take a more active role in the Israel-Palestine conflict, China seeks to strengthen its influence in the region. This move could potentially help China secure access to critical infrastructure and resources as part of its BRI, as well as increase its political clout in the Middle East. China's involvement in the Israel-Palestine conflict is a calculated move aimed at shaping its global image. By positioning itself as a supporter of Palestine, China can portray itself as a champion of justice and human rights on the international stage. This narrative aligns with Beijing's efforts to counter criticism of its own human rights record and assert its role as a responsible global power. China's decision may also be a strategic maneuver to gain leverage in its diplomatic dealings with Israel and other regional players. By openly supporting Palestine, China can use this as a bargaining chip in negotiations on various economic and political fronts. It may seek concessions or favorable trade agreements from Israel or exert pressure on other countries to align with its position. China's move has elicited a range of reactions from the international community. Some countries and organizations have welcomed China's involvement, viewing it as a step towards a more balanced approach to the Israel-Palestine conflict. They argue that China's presence may help mediate peace talks and push for a ceasefire. Conversely, there are concerns that China's involvement could exacerbate tensions and complicate efforts to resolve the conflict. Israel in particular has expressed unease about the presence of Chinese warships in the region, fearing that it may undermine its relationship with the United States, a key ally. The United States, traditionally a staunch supporter of Israel, has expressed reservations about China's move. Washington has urged all parties to de-escalate the situation and return to negotiations, emphasizing the need for a two-state solution. The United Nations has called for an immediate ceasefire and a return to the peace process, while acknowledging the need for international involvement to achieve a lasting solution. China's decision to send warships to Israel has the potential to reshape regional dynamics in the Middle East. China's involvement in the Israel-Palestine conflict could lead to shifts in regional alliances.
Okay.
Are you going to let the greedy heating companies and their crazy high
enjoyed strong support from the United States for decades, but China's presence could alter the balance of power. Other Middle Eastern countries may reassess their relationships with Israel and the United States in light of China's growing influence. Israel may come under increased international pressure to address the humanitarian situation in Gaza and engage in meaningful peace negotiations. China's support for Palestine could lead to more scrutiny of Israeli policies and actions, potentially affecting its diplomatic standing and trade relationships. China's involvement could lead to greater recognition and support for the Palestinian cause on the international stage. This may encourage other countries to take a more assertive stance in favor of Palestinian statehood and rights, potentially reshaping the dynamics of the conflict. China's entry into the conflict as a potential mediator could provide new opportunities for diplomatic solutions. Beijing may use its position to facilitate talks between Israel and Palestine or work alongside other international actors to broker a ceasefire and eventual peace agreement. China's engagement in the Middle East has significant economic implications. Its investments in the region, including infrastructure projects related to the Belt and Road Initiative, may be influenced by the evolving situation in Israel and Palestine. This could lead to adjustments in China's economic priorities and partnerships in the Middle East. The move puts additional strain on an already complex relationship between the United States and China. The U.S. has traditionally viewed the Middle East as within its sphere of influence, and China's involvement in the Israel-Palestine conflict challenges that perception. This could lead to increased competition and rivalry between the two superpowers in the Middle East. China's involvement in the Israel-Palestine conflict highlights its approach to human rights diplomacy. Beijing has consistently faced criticism for its own human rights violations, particularly in Xinjiang and Hong Kong. By positioning itself as a defender of human rights in the Palestinian context, China attempts to deflect international scrutiny and shape the narrative surrounding its own practices.
Okay, any comments on that? Notice how the golden bells mix will keep coming up.
Yes, sir. It's more or
Everybody,
less,
Go ahead.
it's more or less than it's doing a little trickery. Be friends with everybody and gain their trust and take over. It
Right.
just ever since they were going to Africa and building houses for 20 20,000 houses or 2,000 houses in 20 days. Those kind of favors that they're doing is, is it's questionable to me.
Okay. Yeah, so anybody else got anything on that? Okay, I'm gonna open it up for some questions, comments, anything you want to talk about, came across, you want to share and talk about it? Any questions?
Well, it's just again that China and Russia, Magog and Gog, is really stepping up more so today. No, their names are not that now, but in the Old Testament, what they say about how he despised those two. And now they're both are teaming up together. Russia's already in a war and asking other wars to stop with with Israel, and then Iran is actually starting to want to attack the ships coming down the Red Sea. So there's just so much going on. Did you hear about how Iran is stepping in, um, wanting to stop those cargo ships from passing?
Right, exactly. They all working together. China, Iran, all them working together to bring about a siege. Actually, what they're doing, like I said, they want to cut off America's supplies. Like I said, they're looking to starve this place. Right, and that's one of the reasons why he's not trying to deal with this variant, because he don't want to do what they did in 2020. Because with everything else going on, that'll be chaos. Anybody else? Okay, yeah. So I've been talking about this over and over again. Everybody goes to Deuteronomy 28, the curses that's on Israel, but when the sport's all over with, there's going to be curses upon the nations. Those curses are going to be taken off Israel, and they're going to be put on the nations. We want to listen to a little bit of this, and then we'll start reading out the Jubilees. Okay.
They went looking for descendants of the ancient. You were a curse among the heathen, O house of Judah and house of Israel. So will I save you. In this final session of the series, Time for the Nations to Reap, we will look at the curses that will come upon the nations that enslaved the descendants of the ancient Israelites. In summary, we found that the oppressors of Yah's people behaved the way they did because their principles and actions are in line with their ancestral beliefs. They were on code, some would say. So let's do a recap using a report from the Equal Justice Initiative, and then we will talk about the reversal of the curse. The curses that came upon our ancestors as a result of our disobedience and idolatry will be placed on the nations involved in our captivity.
Right.
Continuing, it says, after discovering lands that had been occupied by indigenous people for centuries, European powers sent ships and armed militia to exploit these new lands for wealth and profit starting in the 1400s. In territories we now call the Americas, gold, sugar, tobacco, and extraordinary natural resources were viewed as opportunities to gain power and influence for Portugal, Spain, Great Britain, France, Italy, Germany, and Scandinavian nations. Europeans first sought to enslave the indigenous people who occupied these lands to create wealth for foreign powers, resulting in a catastrophic genocide. Disease, famine, and conflict killed millions of native people within a relatively short period of time. Determined to extract wealth from these distant lands, European powers sought labor from Africa, launching a tragic era of kidnapping, abduction, and trafficking that resulted in the enslavement of millions of African people. Between 1501 and 1867, nearly 13 million African people were kidnapped, forced onto European and American ships, and trafficked across the Atlantic Ocean to be enslaved, abused, and forever separated from their homes and families. Now let's be clear about who they were enslaving. When you look at this map, you can clearly see that the countries in West Africa was the target. They went looking for descendants of the ancient Israelites living in those countries. Now let's go on, but I need you to understand that I am doing this recap because you need to keep these things in mind when I talk about the curse being reversed later and the things that will come upon the nations that participated and benefited from our suffering. It says Europe had no contact with sub-Saharan Africa before the Portuguese, seeking wealth and gold, sailed down the western coast of Africa and reached the Gold Coast, modern-day Ghana, in 1471. Initially focused on obtaining gold, Portugal established trading relationships and built Elmina Fort to protect its interests in the gold trade. It says the convergence of European powers in sub-Saharan Africa set in motion a devastating process that fused sophisticated labor exploitation, international commerce, mass enslavement, and an elaborate race based ideology to create the transatlantic slave trade. Over the following decades, the Spanish, English, French, Dutch, Danish, and Swedes began to make contact with sub-Saharan Africa as well. Portugal soon converted Elmina into a prison for holding kidnapped Africans, and European traffickers built castles, barracoons, and forts on the African coast to support the forced enslavement of abducted Africans. Now listen carefully. German and Italian merchants and bankers who did not personally traffic kidnapped Africans nonetheless provided essential funding and insurance to develop the transatlantic slave trade and plantation economy.
Okay, so let's look at something right quick. It dawned on me when I was watching this or earlier, was that you got to go back and look at, this is not, it's way bigger than what, they didn't put in history books. They took constant lying, but the same people right here that they forcing on these ships and doing all this stuff to even to the day we were just talking about how that when they came through the wilderness and when they left Egypt, it's giants all over the place. And then when they got to the land of milk and honey, the Lord had promised them, promised Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, it was a wash with giants. And these same people conquered those giants and removed them from the land, and they took over the land. So how is this happening? It's got to be something way more than what they're telling us. It's way more, like I said, it's powers, principalities in high places. Because how was they able to do that? And they have nothing on the inhabitants of the land that was in the land of Canaan when they got there. These people is a cakewalk. Let that front aid.
Italian merchants were essential in the effort to extend the sugar plantation system to the Atlantic islands off the west coast of Africa, like Sao Tome, and financial capital from Genoa was instrumental in expanding Portugal's ability to traffic Africans. By the 1600s, listen, every major European power had established trading relationships with sub-Saharan Africa and was participating in the transportation of kidnapped Africans to the Americas in some way. During this time,
this is a witness right here to find out what Israelites is at and where our homeland is. It ain't in America. Look where they at. It said every nation had bum rushed the African continent. That's prophecy. So they didn't bum rush America. They bum rushed the African continent where we was at.
period, several thousand Africans were kidnapped and trafficked to mainland Europe and the Americas. But the volume of human trafficking soon escalated to horrific proportions. The article tells us that in the colonies that became the United States, slavery took on uniquely appalling features. It says from New England to Texas, Black people were dehumanized and abused while they were enslaved and denied basic freedoms. Legal and political systems were created to codify racial hierarchy and ensure white supremacy. Slavery became permanent and hereditary, defined by race-based ideologies that insisted on racial subordination of Black people for decades after the formal abolition of slavery. Millions of Black people born in the U.S. were subjected to abuse, violence, and forced labor, despite the young nation's identity as a constitutional democracy founded on the belief that all men are created equal. What a lie that was. It says racialized slavery was ignored, defended, or accommodated by leaders while the new nation gained extraordinary wealth and influence in the global economy based on the forced labor of enslaved Black people. Listen to this from Howard Center for Investigative Journalism. It says some Protestant churches welcomed revival of the Ku Klux Klan. I need you to think about this. Members of the KKK identify as Christian. They walked down the aisle and got saved. They have been baptized, and they are full-fledged members of Christian churches. These people bombed Black churches, but hey, they believe in God. The question we should be asking is, which God are they talking about? And for the Muslims among us who believe that Islam was so much better than Christianity, you need to think again. Look at this list from World Atlas. It lists the African countries with Islam as the religion of the majority. So the majority of people in these countries are Muslim. You can look at the list, but I will highlight some of them. Somalia, Sudan, Libya, Guinea, Niger, Burkina Faso, Sierra Leone, Chad. Now I ask, did Muslim countries try to intervene when European nations trafficked millions of people from West Africa? No, because they did the same thing. Did they strongly object to the treatment of our people during colonization? Why didn't they come to the defense of those African Muslim nations being exploited by Europeans even today? Read about the sub-Saharan slave trade and see how the Muslims treated the people in West Africa. So is Islam any better than Christianity?
No.
No. As we discussed in the series, Christianity and Islam were used to enslave our people, not help us. There was money to be made in the trafficking of our people. The article says New Englanders profited from the kidnapping and trafficking of African people around the world. And I should add, the Christian and Muslim nations profited from our enslavement. It says the business of buying and selling Black people was not limited to large firms, but was pervasive among New England business owners who purchased shares in the transatlantic voyages. Slavery decimated our families and destroyed relationships. The article says family separation was common in New England despite Puritan family values. Wall Street was founded by a white man named Moses Taylor, a banker and sugar trader who helped finance the transatlantic slave trade after it was outlawed in 1808. Mr. Taylor was one of the wealthiest men in the 19th century, with an estate reportedly worth $70 million. That's about $1.6 billion today. And it gets worse. New York City courts regularly return former enslaved people to white enslavers who made claims under the Fugitive Slave Act. Many of these lawsuits were presided over by Judge Richard Riker, a former enslaver, whose city constable Tobias Boudinot once boasted could arrest and send any Black to the South. Judge Riker often classified Black people as fugitive slaves without due process of law. He is the namesake of Rikers Island, where thousands of Black New Yorkers are currently confined in one of the country's most inhumane and overcrowded jail systems. And that was just a summary of the things our people endured. But based on scripture, the curse will be placed on those who did those things. Let me read Deuteronomy 31-7 again.
So this is what you got so many people, they got that ass backwards, twisted, thinking that we going into captivity, we got curses coming, we're gonna be afflicted. Our affliction is coming to an end. The affliction that's coming is on these people, and what was just told us about what they done to us. Just like with Babylon, Jeremiah told them, "You're going into Babylon, but after you go there after the 70 years, I'm gonna punish the Chaldeans." Same thing right here. We're not gonna be afflicted no more. They gonna get afflicted. And so many people got that twisted.
Now it shall come to pass when all these things come upon you, the blessing and the curse.
Exactly.
We experienced both.
Exactly.
When all these things come upon you, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before you, and you call them to mind, where will you call these things to mind?
Right here,
among all the nations where the Most High drives you. And you return to the Most High and obey his voice according to all that I command you today. This is Moses speaking. You and your children with all your heart and with all your soul, that the Most High will bring you back from captivity and have compassion on you and gather you again from all the nations where the Most High has scattered you. If any of you are driven out to the farthest parts under heaven, from there the Most High will gather you, and from there he will bring you. Then the Most High will bring you to the land which your fathers possessed, and you shall possess it. He will prosper you and multiply you more than your fathers. And the Most High will circumcise your heart and the heart of your descendants, to love the Most High with all your heart and with all your soul, that you may live. Now listen. Also, the Most High will put all these curses on your enemies and on those who hate you, who persecuted you.
So that's why you keep on seeing, in Psalms, David keeps saying that the prophets wait. Because, like I say, Lord of hosts and these angels know just how to do them. You ain't got to do nothing. They know just how to do them. So if you wait, you're going to be smiling and rejoicing in the end.
Joel 3 tells us to make a proclamation to the nations that they need to prepare for war. And one of the reasons listed is because of the way they treated his people. Now, if you read the book of Deuteronomy, you will see that the curse is to be reversed. I have some of the curses listed here with scriptural reference. I encourage you to read the rest on your own. But you will see these things be lifted from us and placed on our enemies. They will be cursed in the city and in the field. They will have scarcity. Curse shall be your basket and your kneading bowl. Infertility. Curse shall be the offspring of your body and the produce of your ground. There will be instability. He will send upon you confusion and rebuke you in all the things you plan to do. You will see sickness. You will be smitten with consumption and with fever and with inflammation. You'll have drought. The heaven which is over your head shall be bronze, and the earth which is under you shall be iron. You will be defeated before your enemies. You will go out one way against them, but you will flee 7 ways before them. Your carcass will be food for the birds and the beasts. You will have confusion and mental illness. You will be smitten with madness and with blindness and with bewilderment of heart. Your wives will be violated. You will betroth a wife, but another man will violate her. You will have your goods stolen, your property and your inheritance. You will build a house, but you will not live in it. Your children will be abducted and violated. Your sons and your daughters will be given to another people. You will have severe oppression. You will be oppressed and crushed continually. You will become a reproach and made to be ashamed. You will become a horror and a proverb and a taunt among the other nations of the earth. You will have plagues of locusts and insects. He will bring extraordinary plagues on you and your descendants, even severe and lasting plagues, and you will experience slavery and exile. You will have sons and daughters, but they will not be yours, because they will go into captivity. Now, for the Gentiles who now know that we are the people, that's great. Now go and tell your people. It's all well and good that you want us to know that you know. But if you really believe what you're saying and you can see what's coming, you need to go and warn your people. When you look at the nations involved and trace their descendants, you're going to see the same people. It was a coalition against us. And who was leading the effort? Esau. He is the hidden hand. The Edomites are the people behind the scenes, calling the shots. Listen to this from Psalm 83, 1 through 4. Do not keep silent, O Yah. Do not hold your peace, and do not be still, O Yah. For behold, your enemies make a tumult. Notice that it does not say the enemies of Israel here. The Most High's enemies make a tumult. They hate him. And those who hate you have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against your people and consulted together against your sheltered ones. So because they hate him, they hated his people. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. Not to destroy completely, but to cut them off so that they would no longer be a nation, that the name of Israel may be remembered no more. For they have consulted together with one consent. They have formed a confederacy against you. They are against the Most High. That's who they think they're fighting against. So one way to do that was to come against his people, to scatter, to uproot, to cut them off from their customs and their heritage, to get them to serve pagan deities, the gods of wood and stone. But their actions are against Yah.
Is this song? So any comments on that? I mean, it's plain. I mean, after all the hell we didn't caught, we're gonna go into another. I was listening to somebody this morning say that we're going back to the land. Then they started quoting out of Revelations where it says, when you see the abomination that make it desolate, flee to the mountains. How we going after all this? We're going back to Israel, and then it's gonna be abomination and desolation. It's crazy. So this video we just listened to is about 50 minutes, so it's curses upon the nations. In case you want to check it out and dissect it, may bring some questions up. Okay. Anybody got anything they want to talk? Comments on that? Okay. I'm gonna read the Jubilees. Then we'll close out. Okay. Here we go. It's Jubilees chapter 1. Keep in mind what we read out of the book of Enoch this morning. Okay, so it says, and it came to pass in the first year of the exodus of the children of Israel out of Egypt, in the 3rd month, on the 17th day of the month, that God spake to Moses, saying, Come up to me on the mount, and I will give thee 2 tablets of stone of the law and of the commandment which I have written, that thou mayest teach them. And Moses went up into the mount of God, and the glory of the Lord abode on the mount Sinai, and the cloud overshadowed it. Here we go. The cloud overshadowed it 6 days. Here we go again from this morning. The cloud overshadowed it, the mountain, 6 days. And he called Moses, check it out. And he called Moses on the 7th day, on the Shabbat. There it is. 6 days on the Shabbat. On the 7th day, out of the midst of the cloud. And the appearance of the glory of the Lord was like a flaming fire on the top of the mount. And Moses was on the mount 40 days and 40 nights. God taught him the earlier, this is what I was telling you about in my introduction. When it says Moses, you see the Torah with the Lord of hosts. And Moses is on Mount Sinai 40 days and 40 nights. And God taught him the earlier and the latter history of the divisions of all the days of the law and of testimony. So what he's talking about is these angels and Yahweh keep count by Jubilees, 50 years. That's why this book called Jubilees. Every 50 years, that's how they keep count. It says, and God taught him the earlier and the latter history of the division of days of the law and of the testimony. And he said, incline thine heart to every word which I shall speak unto thee on this mount. Write them down in a book in order that their generations may see how I have taken, or if I have not forsaken them for all the evil which they have wrought in transgressing the covenant which I established between me and thee for their generations this day on Mount Sinai. So how we know that this is the Lord of hosts? Because he just told them, I'm the one with the covenant. We read that 1,000 times in Judges. That's how we know it's him. That's how you can place him there. He says, in a book, in order that their generations may see how I have not forsaken them for all the evil which they have wrought in transgressing the covenant, which I established between me and thee for their generations this day on Mount Sinai. But now it's a lamb on Mount Sinai. It says, and thus it will come to pass when all these things come upon them, that they will recognize that I am more righteous than they in all their judgments and all their actions. And they will recognize that I have been truly with them. And do thou right for thyself all these words which I declare unto thee this day. For I know their rebellion and their stiff neck. Before I bring them in the land of which I swore to their fathers, to Abraham and to Isaac and unto Jacob, saying, under your seed will I give this land flowing with milk and honey, and they will eat and be satisfied, and they shall turn strange gods to gods which cannot deliver them from aught of their tribulation, and this shall be a witness, and this witness shall be heard for a witness against them, for they will forget all my commandments, even all that I command them, and they will walk after the Gentiles, and after their uncleanness, and after their shame, and will serve their gods, and these will prove unto them to be an offense and a tribulation and an affliction. So this right here is what I'm talking about right here. This will separate the nut buckets from people that the Most High is dealing with this gathered discernment, right? He says, unto your seed. It's the Lord of hosts talking to Moses. Under your seed will I give this land flowing with milk and honey. Y'all already done that way back in the day. And they will eat and be satisfied. And they will turn to strange gods. See that? They're going to eat and be satisfied. They've already done that. And then they're going to turn to strange gods. He didn't say shit about they're going to turn to my son. After they eat and be satisfied, they're going to be dealing with strange gods. So whatever God they're dealing with, he ain't got nothing to do with Yahweh or with heaven. So he says, under your seed will I give this land flowing with milk and honey, and they will eat and be satisfied, and they will turn to strange gods, the gods which cannot deliver them from all. We've been over here down there 400 some years. Jesus ain't delivered us yet, because he can't deliver us. So he says, the gods which cannot deliver them from out of their tribulation. We're in a tribulation right now. And then, because he can't deliver us, this is where the trick come in at. Because he can't deliver us, right? This will be a witness against them. Because they can't, the God they're dealing with can't deliver them. It's going to be a witness. See that? For they will forget all my commandments, even all that I commanded them, and they will walk after the Gentiles. That's where we at. It ain't no clause in there. It ain't shit up in there highlighted that's saying that JC is excluded from this. He part of it. He says, for they will forget all my commandments and that I command them, and they will walk after the Gentiles. That's the Gentiles in the New Testament. Come on. And after that, their uncleanness, and after their shame, and will serve their gods. And these will prove unto them to be an offense and a tribulation and an affliction and a snare. That's where we at. And you got a lot of people that's waking up and saying that they can't see how these people can't see this and see that. Right here, it tells you right here. It's going to be, he says, it's going to prove to them to be an offense and a tribulation and an affliction and a snare. It's snared up in it. Okay? Many will perish, and they will be taken captive and will fall into the hands of their enemies, because they have forsaken my ordinances and my commandments and the festivals of my covenant and my Sabbaths and my holy place, which I have hallowed for myself in their midst, in my tabernacle, my sanctuary, which I have hallowed for myself in the midst of the land. But I should set my name upon it, and that it should dwell there. And they will make to themselves high places and groves and graven images, and they will worship each his own graven image, so as to go astray, and they will sacrifice their children to demons and to all the works of the error of their hearts. And I will send witnesses unto them, that I may witness against them, but they will not hear. We're looking at that. And I will slay the witnesses also, and they will persecute those who seek the law, and they will arbitrate and change everything as to work evil before my eyes. And I shall hide my face from them, and I shall deliver them into the hands of the Gentiles for captivity and for a prey, in the midst of the land, and I shall scatter them among the Gentiles, and they will forget all my laws, not some of them, all my law and all my commandments and all my judgments, and will go astray as the new moon, Sabbath, festival, that's Christmas, Halloween, Jubilees, ordinances. And after this, they will turn to me. That's Isaiah 44. That's what we're witnessing now. And after this, they will turn to me from among the Gentiles. Why they among the Gentiles? Some of them gonna wake up and turn among the Gentiles with all their heart and with all their soul and with all their strength, and shall gather them from among all the Gentiles, and they will seek me, so that I shall be found of them when they seek me, right? With all their heart, with all their soul, and I shall disclose to them abounding peace, righteousness, and I shall remove them. I shall remove them the plant of uprightness with all my heart and with all my soul, and they will be for a blessing and not for a curse, and they will be the head and not the tail, and they shall build my sanctuary in their midst, and I shall dwell with them, and I shall be their God, and they shall be my people in strength, in truth, and in righteousness, and I shall not forsake them, nor fail them, for I am the Lord their God. And Moses fell on his face and prayed and said, O Lord my God, do not forsake thy people and thy inheritance, so that they shall wander in error of their hearts, and do not deliver them into the hands of their enemies, the Gentiles, right? Europeans, lest they should rule over them and cause them to sin against thee. Let thy mercy, O Lord, be lifted upon thy people, and create in them an upright spirit, and let not the spirit of Belial rule over them, to curse them before thee, and to ensnare them from all the paths of righteousness, so that they may perish from before thy face. But they are thy people and thy inheritance, which thou hast delivered with thy great power from the hands of the Egyptians. Create in them a clean heart and a holy spirit, and let them not be ensnared in their sins from henceforth until eternity. And the Lord said unto Moses, I know their contrariness and their thoughts and their stiff-neckedness. They will not be obedient till they confess their own sins and the sins of their fathers. And after this, they will turn to me in all uprightness and with all their heart and with all their soul. And I shall circumcise the foreskin of their heart and the foreskin of their heart of their seed. And I shall create in them a holy spirit, and I shall cleanse them, so that they shall not turn again away from me from that day until eternity. And their souls will cleave to me and to my commandments, and they will fulfill my commandments. And I shall be their father, and they will be my children, and they will all be called children of the living God. And every angel and every spirit will know, yea, they will know that these are my children, and that I am their father in uprightness and in righteousness, and that I love them, and do write down for thyself all these words which I declare unto thee on this mountain. See that? The first and the last, which shall come to pass, overtake them in all the divisions of days, in the law, in the testimony, in the weeks, in the jubilees, until eternity, until I descend and dwell with them throughout eternity. So there it is right there. This killed Revelation 14:1, the Lamb on Mount Zion. He says, until I, not no damn lamb, until I descend and dwell with them throughout eternity. Okay? And he said to the angel of the presence, there you go. I ain't write it. He says, and he said, Moses said to the angel, because the angel was just talking. And he said to the angel of the present, right, or I mean, Lord Host said to the angel, Yahweh said to the angel of the present, right, like I told you, he told the angel, write for Moses from the beginning of the creation till my sanctuary has been built among them for all eternity, and the Lord will appear unto their eyes. So this is who gave Moses the Torah of all, and all will know that I am the God of Israel, this angel, and the father of all the children of Jacob, and king on Mount Zion, not no lamb, for all eternity. And Zion and Jerusalem will be holy. And the angel of the Lord of the presence, who went before the camp of Israel, took the tables of the division of the years of weeks and of jubilees, according to the individual years, according to all the number of the jubilees, according to the individual years, from the day of the new creation, when the heavens and the earth shall be renewed, and all the creation according to the powers of heaven, and according to all the creation of the earth, until the sanctuary of the Lord shall be made in Jerusalem on Mount Zion, and the luminaries be renewed for healing and for peace and for blessings and for all the elect of Israel. All the elect of Israel, and that this they may be from that day until all the days of the earth. Okay? Any comments? So that was chapter 1 of Jubilees. It'd do you some good to go read it. Anybody got any comments? Okay, so no comments. We're gonna shut it off right there. Okay. I'm gonna say shalom, everybody, and have a ball this week. Looking forward to next week. Pick back up where we left off.
Yes, sir. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom. Okay. Shalom.